On this edition of 100 Miles an Hour, we have to tackle the topic picking up speed. By this time next year, it's possible we'll have a woman as a head coach of an NBA team. Sacramento Kings top assistant Nancy Lieberman and San Antonio Spurs assistant Becky Hammon are the leading candidates to land the historic spot. Rumors surfaced in late November that the Kings would promote Lieberman to the head coaching position this season if they parted ways with current head coach George Karl. As for Becky Hammon, she is 20 years younger than Lieberman and led the Spurs to a championship in the NBA's Summer League in July. At 38 years young, it's not a question of if Hammon will become a head coach, but when will it happen? For those skeptical about the possibility of a woman patrolling the sidelines, pay closer attention. They already are. Both the NFL and NBA have full-time female referees. In October, Sarah Thomas got a big call right at the end of a Monday Night Football game between the Steelers and Chargers. She was the first full-time female official in the NFL, has been assigned several high-profile primetime games. In the NBA, there are currently 3 full-time officials calling games. Lauren Holtkamp is the most recent. In February, after calling a technical foul on Chris Paul, the Clippers guard remarked, quote, "This might not be for her." Well, the proof is in the process, and both the NFL and NBA are going 100 miles an hour to show us that their games are for both men and women. Welcome to our latest edition of 100 Miles an Hour. Today, we examine the complex situation of pay for play regarding the NCAA. The college football season is at its peak, and the college basketball season is just starting. Almost $1 billion in revenue will be generated this season. Players, both former and current, feel as though they deserve a bigger cut. But do they? Consider the fact that in the fiscal year of 2012, the NCAA generated over $871 million. According to the NCAA, over $2.4 billion reportedly goes to academic scholarships to over 150,000 student athletes. At that rate, every student athlete actually costs the university close to $164,000 a year. An hourly wage worker would have to command $80 an hour to pay for what it costs for an athlete to attend college. The alternative to being an amateur athlete is to hit the minor league ranks, right? Well, the average minor league athlete earns under $20,000 a year, a far cry from the average student athlete. The landscape is different for stars, though. Take, for instance, Johnny Football. While at Texas A&M, Manziel generated tens of millions of dollars for the Aggies football program. Yet the NCAA investigated him twice for earning a few $1,000s for signing autographs. It seems that if the NCAA is going to profit off of a player's image, then the athlete should have the right to do the same. The average cost for a typical student at private universities is $31,000 a year. In my opinion, it seems as though instead of paying student athletes like professionals, the argument should be about lowering academic costs for the average student. On this edition of 100 Miles an Hour, we take a trip out to Milwaukee, where Bucks forward John Henson was feeling good. After signing his $44 million extension, Henson wanted to celebrate by purchasing his very first Rolex. Apparently, he went to the wrong establishment. Schwenke Caston Jewelers recently was vandalized and robbed. John Henson had nothing to do with that, but he paid the price for others' bad behavior. On Monday at 1:20 in the afternoon, while attempting to enter the store, Henson was denied access. Instead of opening the door, the store employee contacted the police several times. Let's listen in on one of those calls.
Was it a red Tahoe, Patty?
Yes, it was a red Chevy Tahoe.
And do you see that red Tahoe out there?
I don't see it. I am hiding in the office. I don't want them to see me out there. We're pretending like we're closed.
Oh, okay.
So no one is on the floor. We're not opening the door. We're just staying in the back.
There was over 12 minutes of the employee racially profiling a customer that was able and willing to purchase items. After the police arrived, Henson was cordial. He was asked what he planned on purchasing. Henson replied he was just trying to shop like any other normal customer. Story over, right? Millionaire that's on billboards in the city driving a vehicle given to him by a local dealership granted access to the store, right? No harm, no foul, correct? Wrong. The employee allowed the officer to come inside and requested that Henson enter through the back door. The employee also requested the officers remain in the store as Henson looked at the watches. The officers declined to do so. Henson left, but did not remain silent.
It was a tough situation, kind of a surreal moment, but, it's one of those things that happens, and, I felt like I needed to speak on it, and, I never want anybody else to go through that. That's the biggest thing for me, man. That is, it's not a good feeling.
The Milwaukee Bucks acknowledged the incident publicly via Twitter, saying, quote, troubling for the entire Bucks family. Nobody should have to experience what John did. The president of Schwenke Custom Jewelers met with Henson and afterwards released this statement, saying, quote, we believe that everyone, professional athlete or not, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. And this is what's important. John Henson is not a criminal, but he was treated like one. Instead of stooping down to the level of his accusers, he stepped up to the level of role model. He's a prime example of how to overcome racial profiling and teach future generations how to react when treated poorly. Here at CSN, we salute you, John Henson, for not going 100 miles an hour and pumping your brakes in this difficult situation.
The first 13 picks in the NBA draft are called the lottery for a reason. Well, NBA free agency should get a new nickname too. How about the jackpot? Proof of that? Cleveland's own Tristan Thompson. He doesn't even start for the Cavs, but received a 5-year, $82 million deal. Thompson is now the 6th highest paid power forward in the NBA. Now Cleveland is gambling, and Tristan just yelled blackjack.
All right, Tristan Thompson, the stalemate is over. 5 years, $82 million coming his way. Kind of a win for the Cavs because Thompson was asking for $94 million and they were only offering $80. But this is going over kind of funny around the league. Here's DeMarcus Cousins, a little bit confused.
That's great.
As to how it is that Tristan Thompson got all that money. Market changed since you signed your contract there, Boogie.
Sorry, DeMarcus, you'll only make $65 million over the next 4 years. Lesson learned, it's all about timing. While it might be hard to see Tristan Thompson, Reggie Jackson, Enes Kanter, and Tobias Harris make more money than you, their agents are aware of the $24 billion television deal that will increase every team's ability to spend nearly $30 million more per year starting next season.
How much better are the Cavs today? Hugely better. As big as Thompson himself, they are now the prohibitive NBA favorites. They have to be, with Thompson joining Kevin Love and Anderson Varejao, who's healthy now, with Kyrie Irving, with LeBron James, of course. They are loaded.
Well, put your money where your mouth is. That's what Cleveland Cavaliers owner Dan Gilbert is doing. He's gambling on the idea that Tristan Thompson will go from good to great. The Wizards tried this approach before, 2 years ago signing John Wall to a 5-year, $80 million deal. They got a royal flush with that one. Just like any bet, it's a risk. The Cavs can cash in with a championship. The Larry O'Brien Trophy is the reward. Now, isn't that priceless? Welcome to 100 miles an hour. With the Wizards set to play against the Houston Rockets and their MVP candidate this afternoon, James Harden, we decided to take a look at John Wall's value with the Wizards. This season, he has reached a level that puts him in the conversation of some of the franchise's greats. Still behind the likes of championship winners like Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes, Wall has already catapulted himself into the conversation with recent stars like Chris Webber and Gilbert Arenas. Wall-Star's most clutch performances this season were two very similar games. Both went into double overtime. Both showed Wall's heart in more ways than one. On December 8th, Wall reached a career high with 17 assists. But in the second overtime, he scored 10 consecutive points to lead the Wizards to victory. After the game, he broke down. Not because of fatigue, but because he willed the team to win in honor of a fan he had grown close to named Maya, who passed away that morning.
It was tough. I'm talking to you before the game, and you're never like this. She really touched your heart, didn't she?
On Friday, Wall had yet another performance that mirrored his tearjerker from the holiday season. He scored over 30 points in a second game in a row, nailing several jump shots in the double overtime session. 13-year-old Nitin Ramachandran is currently battling a form of brain cancer. Wall added his fans to the post-game festivities. John Wall is currently second in the NBA in assists per game. He's played in over 200 consecutive contests. The biggest knock on the 24-year-old two-time All-Star and NBA Slam Dunk champion is that he has a poor jump shot. That stigma may soon go away. Currently, Wall is shooting a career high from the field, nearly 52% from the field, shots between 8 and 16 feet. John Wall plays at 100 miles an hour every night. He may not be on the radar for league MVP this year, but it's time that people notice he's as valuable as they come to the Wizards franchise. Tonight, we are introducing a new segment here at CSN, 100 miles an hour, from yours truly, Chris Miles. The Ice Bucket Challenge has taken the nation by storm and has been a huge success. Just under $12 million was raised in 2014, then was raised in 2013 to support ALS research. For those taking the challenge and dunking a huge bucket of ice water on their heads, there's a lot to know about this often overlooked debilitating disease. For years, ALS has been a disease associated with one man, the Iron Horse himself, Lou Gehrig. He was lauded for appearing in 2,130 consecutive games for the New York Yankees, a feat only the great Oriole Cal Ripken has topped. What most don't know about Gehrig is in order to reach his exceptional streak, he often played through concussions. ALS took the life of the Iron Horse just 2 years after he stopped playing baseball at the age of 37. If you say, well, Lou Gehrig played in the era of black and white televisions, and there have been miraculous advances in science since then in player safety. Think again. Just look at former New Orleans Saints safety Steve Gleason. He's known for being a gunner who consistently put his health second to making the big play. Well, at 37 years old, Gleason is fighting for his life and helping to raise awareness for ALS. There's been a direct correlation between concussions and ALS. A recent study of 3,439 former NFL players who suffered multiple concussions, 334 died. 7 had Alzheimer's, 7 had ALS, which is 4 times the amount of the general population. Last August, the NFL reached a $765 million settlement with its 18,000 retired players for brain injuries. So the Ice Bucket Challenge is an excellent advancement for those unfortunate people who suffer from the disease. Let's remember that it's a deadly disease, that even those who are living with the ailment are often left in wheelchairs without the faculties to button their own shirts, or in many cases, the ability to speak. They appreciate your voice via the Ice Bucket Challenge.